Have you ever had that awful feeling that maybe you don't really have any friends? It's terrible. I've been there. It is not pleasant. And yet, research shows us that isolation and loneliness are becoming more and more prevalent in our societies, especially in so-called more developed countries. In today's episode, we're going to talk about 3 truths related to meaningful relationships. We're going to talk about why meaningful relationships are important and 3 things for us to think about as we're getting started and being more intentional to build more meaningful relationships. Welcome to Vida Punda, a place where we talk about life change, about how to be more intentional so that we can give and live more abundantly. There was a Friday afternoon that I was busy at work, and all of a sudden I got a phone call that nobody wants to get. My wife had been involved in a car accident. I dropped everything and I rushed to the scene, but she wasn't there anymore. I asked some bystanders and they said she'd been taken to the nearest hospital. So I went to the hospital and I found her there, and she ended up being okay. She got released within a few hours. But during the course of that afternoon, it really got me thinking, if she had to spend the night at the hospital, who would I call? Did I really have any friends that I could call on to go and check on the kids or take care of the kids at my house? It was very sobering for me to think about. Do I really have any friends in that location? Now, I do have other friends. The problem is I just didn't have any in that location where we were living. And so that really got me thinking, do I have friends and who are they? And what am I doing to invest in meaningful relationships? So today we're going to talk about 3 things related to meaningful relationships. And the first one of those, the first truth we want to share, is that meaningful relationships don't just happen on their own. They don't just happen automatically. It's something we need to be intentional in our lives to build those. Now, to start with, we want to make a clarification. Knowing lots of people, having lots of contacts is not the same as meaningful relationships. You might have hundreds or thousands of people on your contact list. You might have a lot of followers on social media. That does not mean that you're engaged in meaningful relationships. And today we want to talk more about those actual meaningful relationships. And they don't just happen on their own. We have to be deliberate. We have to make time. They take a lot of effort. They take hard work for us to build those. If we don't invest in meaningful relationships, we simply won't have any. The second truth is that meaningful relationships require vulnerability and cannot be one-sided. We have to be willing to be vulnerable if we're going to develop meaningful relationships. Now, all relationships are built on trust. And how is trust built? Trust is built very slowly through honesty, through integrity, and through being willing to be vulnerable with somebody else, to share some of those deepest things that are inside of us in a safe environment. Without that willingness to be vulnerable, we're not going to be able to build meaningful relationships. A few years ago, I started meeting with some guys. At the time, we were all living in the same city, and we decided we would get together once a month and just share the real stuff, what's really going on in our lives, and encourage each other and pray together. We moved to different places, and we didn't get together for a few years. And after a while, one of the guys initiated, hey, even though we're living in different countries now, should we continue getting together? And we decided to do that. And it has just been so great because I know that every month I'm going to have this meeting, even though we meet virtually because we're all living in 3 different countries. We are able to get together every month and talk about the real stuff of life. But the only reason that relationship is so meaningful is because it's an environment of trust, and each of us is willing to share deeply about what's really going on in our lives, knowing that that's not going to get spread to other places or other people or damage us, or that we won't get criticized because of what we're doing or what we're sharing. Building that trust is absolutely critical to having meaningful relationships. But the meaningful relationship can't just be one-sided, right? It takes 2, at least 2, in order for this to work. If only one side wants to be vulnerable and the other person isn't interested, that's not going to grow into a meaningful relationship. The third truth we're going to share today is that if we're going to develop meaningful relationships, we have to plan specific, intentional times and activities with people that we've chosen to come closer with chosen individuals. Otherwise, it's simply not going to happen. If you don't plan for it, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to grow in those relationships. Now, a few years ago, I approached someone that I really admired and I asked him if he'd be willing to be my mentor. Surprisingly, he agreed. And ever since then, we have tried to get together once a month. Regardless of which country we're living in, where we are in the world, we try to get together once a month. That is not easy because both of us have very stressful jobs, not much time, and difficult time scheduling, but somehow we do make it a priority to get together every month so that I can enjoy learning from his wisdom. But surprisingly, he says that he also enjoys the times that we spend together. Now, in that particular case, we have to meet virtually because we're living in different countries. But I want you to think about, as you're thinking about how to be specific, how to plan those things with the specific times to be intentional, to build those relationships with different people, recognize that there might be different activities with different people, right? So there are some people that you might go and work out with or go on a hike with. There are some people where you might just sit on the couch and talk. There are some people that you might go shopping together with, whatever it is. But the activity that you're doing with that person should be appropriate to create that environment in which the relationship can grow and become more and more meaningful over time. And that's really the last point here, is that things take time. We have to be patient. Building a really meaningful relationship is not something that's going to happen from one day to the next. We have to be willing to give part of ourselves, to share honestly, to build that environment of trust and maintain that trust, to actually take time out of our busy schedules to plan these activities, to plan who we're going to be with, what we're going to be doing, and be willing to share so that that relationship can become more meaningful and it can grow. Having good friends is not only good for our mental health, but also for our physical health. Let me read you a little bit of something from the Mayo Clinic. Good friends are good for your health. Friends can help you celebrate good times and provide support during bad times. Friends prevent isolation and loneliness and give you a chance to offer needed companionship. Friends increase your sense of belonging and purpose. Friends boost your happiness and reduce your stress. Friends improve your self-confidence and your self-worth. Friends can help you cope with trauma and difficult situations in your life, such as serious illness, divorce, or job loss, or death of a loved one. And friends can encourage you to avoid unhealthy lifestyle habits, such as excessive drinking or lack of exercise. Friends also play a significant role in promoting your overall health. People with strong social connections have a reduced risk of many health problems, including depression, high blood pressure, unhealthy body mass index, etc. Friendship, meaningful connection, is really important, not just for our mental health, but also for our physical health. So as we wrap up this episode today, I just want to encourage you to take some time to reflect about your own life and your own friendships. If you're struggling to have real relationships with people, even if you have a lot of people on your contact list, think about why is that and what are you going to do about it. If you are interested in learning more or having a little tool to help you think through some questions about what you can do to grow in this area of meaningful relationships in your life, please reach out to us. Just go to vitabunda.com and click on contact and request the tool to help you with intentional friendships or meaningful relationships, however you want to write it. That's vidabunda.com, and just click on contact and send us a note. We'd love to hear from you. As we finish today, I want to encourage you to really take this seriously and think about the status of your relationships right now in your life. Who are those closest friends that you have? And if you don't, what are you going to do about it? If you do, how are you going to just appreciate them? Let them know how grateful you are for the role that they play in your life. Look forward to seeing you next time.